Alright then, time to have a bit of a talk about the Destruction Warlock in Warlords of Draenor. Now, Destruction's actually something that's rather new to me. I recently boosted one up on the live servers, and I've got to say, it's one of my favourite specs. I'm having a lot of fun. I know it's kinda dirt mode, but whatever. I think it's a very enjoyable spec on live, so let's see how it's translated into Warlords of Draenor. Now, of course, bear in mind, this is the beta, everything could change, you know, it could be different, but as it stands currently, really, it does feel rather similar, and yeah, there's some interesting stuff going on with the talents. But first of all, let's just talk about the base changes. So, Kil'jaeden's Cunning is different now. Very different, actually. It's been changed so that it will allow you to cast any spells while moving for 8 seconds, and it's on a 1-minute cooldown. What that means is that when you really need mobility, you are super mobile. You can do your Chaos Bolts on the move, but you know, from just day to day, trying to get rid of that little void zone that appeared under your feet, you're going to have to, you know, break your spells to move, and things like that, which is of course what you should do. Don't stand in the fire to finish your Chaos Bolt. Things might go quite badly for you. Anyway, so they've changed that, and it definitely does make the Warlock feel quite different to me anyway. Now, do bear in mind that I'm very used to playing a Hunter, and the other classes that I'm, well, experienced-ish with are an Arms Warrior and a Death Knight and a Paladin, and basically just classes that move a lot. So it's definitely a little bit jarring to me, but I think I'll get over it, and it is fine. Kil'jaeden's Cunning in its current iteration, though, certainly is quite usable. However, I suppose it's definitely, with this change anyway, I think going to free you up to choose Archimonde's Darkness, if you really want to. Now, previously in Siege of Orgrimmar, I believe that if there was basically a standstill fight, that Archimonde's Darkness would, of course, be the optimal thing to do, but for most fights, because of movement, it was Kil'jaeden's Cunning, so maybe a lot more people are going to be rolling with Archimonde's Darkness. Now, that said, fights still do require you to move quite a bit, and one of the reasons why they're paring down on the mobility for ranged classes is that mobility is basically now supposed to be for Hunters, and for the ranged, or not the ranged, the melee people. So yeah, it feels a little bit different with that. In terms of your other spells, well, honestly, everything feels just about the same. You've got your Immolate, your, you know, Conflagate, Incinerate, Chaos Bolt, and then under 20% Shadow Burn. It's just the regular stuff, really. Not a great deal has changed there. Well, actually, one thing that I suppose is perhaps a little bit different is that with Blizzard removing snapshotting, it definitely takes a little bit of depth away from your Immolate. So previously what you would have wanted to do is ensure that your Immolate that was currently rolling on your target was an Immolate that was cast when you had things like your Trinket procs or your Dark Soul up or various things like that. And that's something that actually could, I believe, have been managed by add-ons, though I really should do that in live. Anyway, that's no longer the case. Your Immolate ticks are going to be calculated on however just powerful your character currently is, so if you do an Immolate that, lasts 15 seconds, and you only have 7 seconds of Dark Soul left, then what's going to happen is, for 7 seconds it will have that increased crit chance, but afterwards it will just recalculate based on you not having Dark Soul up. So it's definitely very different there. There's a bit less depth, though I suppose arguably it's okay, I guess, maybe? Yes, right, so that's what's going on there. Now, in terms of the other parts of the spec, well, everything really feels largely the same to me, still feels good, and I think that the core gameplay of Destruction was something that Blizzard was happy enough with. Honestly, it wasn't particularly complicated, but I suppose it was quite satisfying for a lot of people, so it, I suppose, just met their design goals. Now, let's talk about talents. So, Kil'jaeden's Cunning's been changed, we know that. Archimonde's Darkness is still the usual 2-charge deal, and Manroth's Fury is exactly what it is. Currently, everything else seems to be largely the same, so let's just talk about the tier 100, or the level 100 talents. These are actually pretty different. Yeah, right, so first of all, we've got Charred Remains. Now this means that your Incinerate and Conflagate deal 60% less damage, but generate 200% more Burning Embers, and it also means that Fire and Brimstone will affect your Chaos Bolt. And that's a bit crazy. Essentially, this is, well, so far it seems to be the best thing to do in terms of DPSing AoE as a Warlock. Cataclysm, which is the next talent, is fantastic, but just imagine a Fire and Brimstone Chaos Bolt going to 10 targets or something. That's crazy. That's crazy, and it's great and lovely, yes. Um, so yeah, another thing that Charred Remains does is that it really shifts the priority over to making sure that you do your Chaos Bolts. And that's going to mean that, well, it'll feel different. You'll be prioritizing these big, long cast spells, so maybe it'll feel a bit slower, but I think, you know, a lot of Destruction Warlocks really love the Chaos Bolts, and I guess this is quite fun to use. It's what I've been using at the minute. It seems like the best for single targets so far. However, I'll be honest, I didn't really do too much testing with Demonic Servitude, which I'll cover in a minute. By the way, numbers are basically meaningless at the minute, so we don't really bother about them, and everything is being changed. For an example, Charred Remains used to be 300% more Burning Embers, but now, of course, it's 200%, so it has actually been lowered just a little bit, which is fine. So the next one is Cataclysm. This is 40-yard range, 3-second cast, 1-minute cooldown. It uses the same spell effect as the thingy that precasts the Meteor and Kor'kron Dark Shamans, but this does about, well, it says in the tooltip 27k damage. That's about 2 Chaos Bolts worth of damage, I'd say, roughly, and then it also immolates everything. It's big AoE, a lot of damage, and it's very powerful in an AoE situation. I don't know if it's better than Charred Remains, that's the only thing. And once again, as I said, number balancing doesn't matter yet because, well, they haven't finished balancing the numbers. So in terms of what's cool, I'd say that Charred Remains is really cool because it actually does change up your gameplay. You know, it makes things a bit of a different pace, so maybe some people will prefer that pace, maybe some others won't. Cataclysm is at least a fun enough AoE. However, the only problem is that because of its 3-second cast and the fact that it's just a fixed location on the floor, well, if you're going to be doing any movement whatsoever, then Cataclysm isn't going to work. I remember I was trying to kill this boss, it was the third one in Upper Blackrock Spire, and the tank kept on moving around the place like crazy, and I just couldn't hit it with Cataclysm. So I just switched back to Charred Remains for the next attempt. Now finally we've got Demonic Servitude. This means that you can control one of your Greater Demons, so your Doom Guard or your Infernal, permanently. Now that is rather interesting, I suppose, in theory, because they are really cool pets, and if you're doing a single target situation, then you whip out your Terror Guard, and if you're AoE, you've got your Abysmal, and that's pretty cool. However, I'm not convinced that it's the most interesting talent, because it's just one of those things that sort of set it and forget it, and it doesn't really affect your gameplay too much. I mean, yeah, you've got your big demons rolling around the place, but does that affect the resource mechanics of the Destruction Warlock? Does that affect your cast times or various things like that? No, it just feels like a choice that you make, you summon your demon and off you go, you never really think about it again. So personally, it's not the thing that really, well, not the sort of thing that fits with the playstyle that I like, but certainly if you just want something that is a probably solid enough talent that doesn't require much thought, then I guess Demonic Servitude is going to be the thing for you. So that's really about it for the Warlock, or at least for Destruction. What I've got to say is, it feels good, it feels largely the same, actually, but the level 100 talents for the most part kind of augmented a bit. Oh, actually I've got one more point to make about Charred Remains. It gives you, of course, this 200% more Burning Embers thing. Now that actually has got some nice interplay with Ember Tap. Of course, Ember Tap, if you're not aware, will heal your health back. Now, I think I've got it glyphed currently, so it's the one that heals back over time, but heals back more. Anyway, so the great thing about Charred Remains is you're going to get more Burning Embers, which means you'll be able to Ember Tap more. So if you're doing some extreme soloing, or you're just worried that you're going to die, well, this is nearly like the healing spec, in a way, for the self-healing spec for the Warlock. I mean, between your Soul Leech Shield and basically infinite Ember Taps, because of the Charred Remains Burning Embers that you generate, it's going to be very good in terms of your survivability. I wonder what that would be like in PvP. Like, just constantly being able to heal yourself. Especially with the fact that in Warlords of Draenor, well, PvP is going to be a little bit different. There's not as much CC, and damage is a bit slower and smoother. I'll have to test that out. But anyway, from a PvE perspective, I can say that the Destruction Warlock is still a ton of fun, and hopefully you don't mind the Kil'jaeden's Cunning change, because that's the major thing that really is different, but I suppose most range classes are experiencing that. Anyway, so let me know what you think about the level 100 talents. If you're in the beta, let me know what you think about the Destruction Warlock. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.